everybody. Welcome. I'm Daniel G. Garza, and this is another episode of Put It Together Conversations. Welcome to the show. I want to welcome all of our friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. So excited to have you all. Please be part of the conversation. I just realized today that even our friends on Twitter can be part of the conversation. So if you watch the video and enter your comments, you will see them right here, and we'll be able to answer them. Want to remind you, Put It Together Conversations is a show about folks. It's about you, where you come from, where you are now, and what your journey's been like. And the idea is to motivate and inspire other people to go after their dreams and goals. So what are your dreams and goals? And today we're going to find out what those are about. Two of our guests, let me put up their names so you know who we're talking about. And funny enough, we were so caught up in the chat that I forgot to pull up their bios until just now. So let me tell you about Estrella. Estrella Tamez she is the co-founder of Starflower Entertainment with Rhianna Basore. I remember I didn't ask her if it was Basore or Basore, but I will find out in just a minute. As well as co-actor and co-creator of the In the Zoom Room, the first web series produced by Starflower. Other writing credits includes Pieces, Where the Sky Ocean Meets the Sky, and Sky Crashing, two features in development with Starflower Entertainment, and the short play The Big Reveal for New York City's Theater Breaking Through Barriers Theater Company, which will premiere in their online May intensive. As a veteran actor of 24 years, Estrella will next take on the role of Barb in the indie horror flick Reflecting the Void, which begins production in Los Angeles in late 2021. During the 2021 pandemic, her dream of performing in New York City theater was virtualized when Estrella was invited by the TPTB to perform in various plays via Zoom, which streamlined on YouTube and Facebook. Additional credits include General Hospital, Passions, Without a Trace, NYPD Blue, Commander-in-Chief, and The Practice, as well as various stage productions. For Rhianna, let me scroll because I'm scrolling here. She is an award-winning director, producer, international actor, and professional writer. She has appeared off-Broadway around the United States and abroad. She made her feature filmmaking debut last year when she started her first movie in A Closet in Quarantine. It went on to critical acclaim when it premiered on, why do you give me these big words, Rhianna? Reykjavik, Iceland? I'm gonna say that that's right. Her creative expertise has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the LA Times, the Chicago Tribune, the Find Your Light podcast, and more. The co-founder of Self Trust Fund, a financial empowerment coaching company specializing in helping creatives earn their truth worth, Rhianna helps artists, actors, nonprofit organizers, and healers set themselves up for success. Before starting her own company, Rhianna spent over a decade managing business development and outreach for a multi-million-dollar nonprofit organization. So without any more ado, let me bring them back. These are two of one of my favorite people. I really do enjoy them. Hello, ladies. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi.
How
Thank
are
you
y'all?
so much for having us.
Yeah,
Here
thrilled
we
to
go.
be here.
Breakovic. Well, thank you now for breaking that down for me after I've already said it. Uh, Let me start by, like we always do, telling people how I know these ladies. For those of you who follow the show and know the show a little well, you must have seen the show with John Swabeck, who is my acting coach. Well, I met these wonderful ladies in that acting class. And not only were we in the same class, but one of the cool things about that class is that we get to work with each other. We bring in scripts and we get to choose a partner. And on several of my pieces, these ladies were my partners, and I'm so grateful for that. So we're colleagues and friends, and it's so good to have y'all on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely.
So I was going to ask you before we started the show, is there an E when you say your last name, Rhianna, or?
Basore, Rhianna Basore.
Basore, okay, cool. Because I was like, I always ask, but it's always when I have guests that I know, and I feel like I want to, like, it's like a kid when you want to show them a new toy. It's like, let me show you what I can do. Let me show you what I can do. So I got a little overexcited, but thank you,
Daniel. I think
here.
that's the Mexican in us, because I actually I think I called her Basore one time, and she was like, "It's Basore." I was like, it's the Mexican in me. I want to put sound everything out in a word, so in a name.
It happens all the time. As long as it's hey you, I respond to it.
Yeah, I tell people I've been called worse in better places. So yeah, yeah. When people call me David Garcia, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I dig it. I dig it. So I haven't seen you for a while. I had to stop taking classes for a little bit. How have you been? What's going on?
Life is amazing. We miss you all the time. You're like our favorite person to work with. We're always thinking about how we can pull you back into our world. So we're so glad to be here today. But things are fantastic. What started in a little nutshell with a scene you helped us out with has just flowered into its own production company. So Estrella, you want to kick us off with that?
Yeah, so we, not to go back to the very, very beginning, making it a long story, but yeah, Rhianna and I also met before we met you, I believe. We met in John's class, and we started writing scenes for each other to work on, and became pretty much scene partners through, pretty consecutive classes, like where we were just like, okay, let's find a scene together. And then we were like, let's write a scene together. So then we just started writing, and then it was like, well, why don't we turn this into a webisode? All right. Which was, I love it. I love bouncing ideas off of Rhianna because she was always so excited to jump into something with me. So then scenes became a webisode became Starflower Entertainment. Like, why don't we just start a company? Okay, great.
And just to jump in and toot Estrella's horn, all of those ideas were hers. I just said, yes, let's do that. She said, let's write scenes together. And I said, yes. She said, we should film them and put them on the internet. And I said, yes. She said, let's form a company and call it Starflower. And I said, yes. So I have been the yes woman for brilliance. That's what I do.
This sounds like a really long improv exercise. Yes, and
we'll probably end up as astronauts, on the next SpaceX if Estrella's in charge, because sky is the limits with this lady.
Well, I've never had patience, so I'm always like, okay, you want to do that? Okay, let's do it. What's stopping us?
I think this is a really great point to. That's how Daniel and I work for the most part. Yeah, exactly that. So for those of you
partnerships.
For those of you that know the show, the person commenting that is my boyfriend and my business partner, Christian. So, but I think this is a great point to start asking. So, Estrella and Rhianna, how do you put it together?
You want to start, Rhianna?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I have been an actor for frickin' forever, you guys. I have done it all over the world, lots of different things, voiceovers, movies, mostly theater for me. And then the pandemic, and then everything stopped. And I thought, well, time to see what can happen from the excitement of my own home. So I signed up for this acting class where I had been following this particular teacher, John Swanbeck, on social media for years. And he was streaming from Los Angeles. And I took that leap of faith that allowed me to meet, yeah, exactly, Christian, that allowed me to meet you beautiful human beings. And what that reminded me is that every time I try to expand myself into the unknown by saying yes or taking a new class, it really allows what's available to me to just expand in all directions. So this has turned into founding a production company, creating online content, committing to writing regularly as a writer. We have our web series is up on imdb.com. And so really, while it's an everyday journey to put it together, for me, it's always leaning into the experience of the moment. That has been my number one secret to life.
Yeah, and similar to Rhianna, I actually had been taking John's class in Los Angeles. And Daniel, I want to say that I met you one time in John's in-person class before the pandemic shut us down, because there's just something about you that's so familiar. So I want to say that we at least did one class together in person.
I only took one in-person class before the pandemic kicked in. So
yeah, and I had been. Well, was it a Sunday? Did you go on a Sunday?
I think so.
Do you remember what day of the week? Then we would have taken it together, because I know I've met you before. But I had been with John.
I am pretty memorable and adorable. So you
are. Absolutely. But yeah, so I had been with John for a few years, off and on, like mostly on, taking a couple of breaks here and there for like summer vacations with my kids and stuff. But yeah, so I had been in person with John, and then when the pandemic shut everything down, there was like a little bit of a lull. I think he was trying to figure stuff out, like how do I do this with everything shut down? And then once John put all of his classes on Zoom, I was kind of in his guinea pig class. So the first month was like his guinea pig, like, let's see if we can get this off the ground. And then all of a sudden it like bloomed into this amazing, he's got people from all over the world in his acting class, which is so amazing. And I'm so grateful for it because I've been able to stay fine tuning my craft. B, I've met some incredible people. I have friends now all over the world, which I think is incredible. And C is I had my entire 24 years of acting. I wanted a partner like Rhianna. I was like, one day I'm going to find the perfect partner. We're going to hit it off. We're going to write. We're going to create. And it was like incredible. When we met each other in John's class, I just remember thinking, oh, she's a cool girl. Like, let's start doing some scenes together. And it's just one of those things where you meet somebody and it just clicks immediately and you feel like you've known each other your whole lives. And that's exactly how it happened with us. And it was like little by little, our friendship grew and grew and grew. And pretty soon it was a combination of wanting to connect, wanting to create, and realizing that we were meeting somebody who was like almost like a soulmate. Like I really do believe that Rhianna and I are soulmates.
Because folks don't, for those of you folks who are not into acting, finding a scene partner, so like as an actor, like if you're in a class and you have a scene and you take the time to pick a subject that you really want, it's almost like it's asking somebody out on a date. Like you don't know unless you already know them. You're like, okay, so I have this script and I want you to do it with me. And sometimes with this class, you don't have a lot of time to prep. And then you get there and it's like a first date. Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? So that's not just the nervousness of the class, but it's the nervousness of working with somebody new. And then you find people who get you. And then you're like, yes, it's cool. Because like I know that if like with you two, if I grabbed a script at home, I was like, oh, Estrella would be perfect for this. Like, I know she would. Or, oh, Rhianna, I have to ask her if she wants to do with me. Because let me face it, it was usually you two that I went to for most of the stuff. So let's face it. We do have a question on the board. The COVID-19 experience really has some silver linings. Oh, yeah. So we're talking about like you guys worked it out. So, Rhianna, you were talking about she made the first move in proposing to you.
Oh, I'm very forward.
Yes, Estrella makes the first move almost every time. I'm the one who goes, oh, yeah, that sounds great. And she's being humble. She actually called me up on the phone and she's like, hey, I want to talk to you. And 30 minutes later, we had like bonded over various things going on in our lives, irregardless of the scene. And then from there, she's like, we should work together. And then after a couple of weeks of trying to find scenes with rockin' lady parts in them, we were like, no, we should write them. And Estrella's like, yeah, we should write them. So she's being modest when she is minimizing how much she has driven this relationship.
So let me start
I can be a pushy person. What does it say? So it's like Libra, social. I don't know about gentle, but definitely social and gracious.
It's like, I'm going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to be nice about it. So you don't feel like I'm pushing you around.
Yeah.
You'll thank me later.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right, Daniel, because it is such an act of trust and vulnerability to say, I thought of you with this script. And we reached out to kindred spirits in those moments, like you and like each other. And it's so joyful to jam, right? John calls it a jam session. I think that's such a great name for it because you're really vibing, especially in that early COVID time where we just didn't really know what was happening. We weren't talking to that many people. And here were these people we'd never met before, just like a little Zoom box. And there is a connection that transcends the technology, and it has sustained in all of the cases in this room, which is the most exciting part.
Pretty cool. So before we continue, I want to remind everybody you're watching Put It Together Conversations. I'm your host, Daniel G. Garza. My guests today are Estrella and Rhianna, co-owners of Star Flower Entertainment, and we're talking about persevering in the lockdown, finding your artistic soulmates and creating something. And we do have another question on the board that says, how do you get a show recognized or on IMDb?
Well, I'm going to tell you who was in charge of that.
Oh, that was a really long process, the IMDb process. So it's not impossible to get a show on IMDb. There are guidelines. I mean, there are things that your show has to, if you're going to put something on, it has to have been available for streaming or accessible to the public, or it has to be produced and have shown somewhere like Netflix, Amazon, a movie theater. But so there are guidelines. And then my suggestion is Google help on IMDb, because it's very intricate. There's a lot of information that you have to kind of sort through. They don't make it easy, I think, on purpose. And it was seriously a long process to add in the Zoom room every single episode with a synopsis, with the actor credits and all the other stuff. I mean, it was a process.
Yeah, folks don't realize the production time that goes into everything. Because I even tell folks, they're like, "Oh my God, it must be so much fun to live stream a podcast every week." I'm like, it is fun for the hour that I'm online, but the hours before and the hours after is what people don't have to, and they don't have to see that. They don't have to see that. So I want to continue with your story, because we can go on to this forever. But Hollywood actors, producers, a lot of times we are pinned against each other. It's very competitive. It's very who is the best. So how was the energy coming together and being able to work together? And let's be honest. A lot of time women are pitted against women. It's like women can't be friends and co-workers. There's going to be rivalry and jealousy. But you folks make it work. You guys make it work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To be honest, I feel like Estrella and I are such kindred spirits that it is more a spirit of generosity. I have a lot of female friends in the industry and not. I really love a good lady dynamic. So while I may be disappointed that someone gets something that I don't get, I never feel in competition, because I know what's mine is mine. And then you add the dynamic that we're building something I'm so proud of, that gets me so excited, that we're working on all the time, that we're building all the time. And so how can I resent her getting a movie I didn't audition for, right? Because we're very similar. People always ask if we're related, actually, which we love.
Or the same person.
Yeah. Yes. So fun fact, I actually had a friend argue with her husband because he insisted we were two different people when they watched our show. And she was like, no, Rhianna plays both parts. And so I had to break the bad news to my friend that I do not in fact play both parts.
You're like, I'm capable, but not this time.
I share the spotlight. And this is the other part that I think is so beautiful is I need Estrella. She makes me brave. She makes me own my power in a way that I, as an individual, am not able to. Like, I'll write a scene and I'm like, oh, this is terrible. And 3 days will go by and I'll send it to Estrella and she's like, this is the funniest thing I've ever read. And I'll read it. I'm like, oh, okay, it's pretty good. Okay.
Well, and I need her too. And I need her. And that's the thing, is that I think that I can only speak for Rhianna and I as a team, because I feel like we bring out the best parts of each other, but we also have different strengths. So she has different strengths than I do. I think she can write dialogue. Oh my gosh, like none other. She is like so funny and so quick, and she takes out all the unnecessary. So I'm always like, okay, fix the dialogue. And she's like, okay, what's the story? And so I just feel like we appreciate and I also feel like if you are a secure person, you can give somebody else the spotlight, and you can, be happy and excited for them, and know that we each have something that we're giving. If you're insecure, I think that's what stems from, right, is the where it's that struggle, or feeling that upset or jealous about somebody else. I don't like that. I've always been very open, very giving. I'm not a jealous person. I feel like everybody has a place in this industry. We can all be here. We're all different. We all bring something different to it. So the fact that Rhianna and I know that about each other, and she laughs at my stuff, I laugh at her. Our goal is to write stuff to make each other laugh. That's our goal.
It's true. It's like having someone who is both your mirror and your sounding board in the industry. I think this can be a really lonely industry, and what we have is each other's back. And that means so much to both of us. I had an audition recently for a film, and I asked Estrella to be my reader. And she not only coached me through it, like at one point I was so nervous. I was like, why am I even doing this? She's like, you got this. So it really is like a holistic relationship, because it extends beyond what we make together. We just really want to amplify each other's voices and the amazing people like you, Daniel, that we bring in to work with us.
Well, I think that's you just tapped into something important, and especially I'm gonna talk a little bit about my spiritual coaching. When I coach people spiritually and about building their self-esteem and aligning and grounding themselves and aligning themselves, that's what I talk about. It's like, if you are in that position where you're like, I know I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I mean, except for you two, of course. Except for you two.
I mean, I'm working.
Yeah, no. I meant me, us, me, or humans, not you guys. But when you step into your reality and go, I'm not perfect, but I know what I bring to the table is good. Then whenever somebody says, that is good, but you don't take it as a personal stab in the heart. You're like, okay, well, give me a better idea to work on, and we can go in that direction. And I tell people it's the difference between criticism and constructive criticism. Like, putting somebody down just for putting them down is not going to lead you anywhere. But when you have mutual respect and go, look, I get where you're coming from, but how about this? And then the yes and pops up, coming back to that oh yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's completely true, because one of the first things that Estrella said to me about writing is, she's like, whatever you want to change. There's no ego for me. And I was like, what? Because some of my collaborators I've worked with in the past, it was a real battle. They were Taurus, for the record, for those of you that know. So it was a real battle to like massage so we got to where we needed to go. And when she led with that and meant it, it allowed me to actually put forth some ideas that I had that did end up in the final cut, as they say. And it was a huge relief for me, because sometimes I have a little trouble starting. Like, I'll be in dreamland forever, and I'm like, I don't know. And Estrella's like, here's a scene. And then I decorate it.
Well, there's a difference between if I have to build you up when we're working together versus building up the product, then like, what are we doing here? Like, there's therapists for that. That's what I would say. Like,
it's charged by the hour, for the record.
Yeah, like, do you want to collaborate, or do you need me to boost up your ego? Because I'll charge you for that. Yeah. Okay, so we do have another question on the board. How did you come up with the production name?
So yes. So I think that the best way to say this is that we were so excited to make In the Zoom Room. And then at a certain point, we realized that we had this sort of unending supply. Not you, my darling.
Everybody but Hope.
All Tauruses are not who I'm referring to.
No. We forgot to put the disclaimer at the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Hashtag not all Taurus. So we were excited about all of these incredible ideas that were coming in the pipeline. And so, of course, my beautiful Libra, she's like, we need to have a production company. And I was like, okay, great. Let me visualize a logo that might work for us. And she's like, what do you think about Starflower Entertainment? And I was like, okay. And she's like, well, it's my name. Estrella, which means star, and then Rhianna, which in the Arabic language means perfume. And so it became this beautiful metaphor for our friendship, which is both shining bright, very Venuvian, absolutely, and also that kind of wafting of your story into the world. And it's become such an identity for us that we use the emoticons and everything that we do. It's really that kind of joint mingling of, I think, how we show up in the world. And this lady came up with it one night while she was drinking a glass of wine, watching TV with her husband, like you do Thursday.
Yeah. That's really cool. That again, it's just this combo, and I feel like more than telling your story, you're kind of showing younger generations and folks that are getting into business, because definitely, okay, we were all running around doing auditions, collaborating with people, and then the lockdown came in, and we were very limited to who we were going to collaborate with. And now that we're reemerging from this cocoon that we were in for over a year, I feel like a lot of people are eager to want to collaborate. And I think y'all are really setting a good foundation for folks to go, how can I pick the right partner? And I think, okay, right here, that one and that one, this is a good example of how to pick a good partner. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we thank you for that compliment. We think the same.
Yeah.
Before we continue, we do have a clip for you folks. So with their permission, I'm going to put them out of the room for a second so we can see it. It's only because of stream things. So we're going to put them out of the room for a second, and we're going to show you a clip of In the Zoom Room.
Sure do. I have a little something for my daddy. Hi, Destiny, is my daddy there?
He's busy, dear. It's our anniversary, remember?
Sure do. I have a little something for my daddy.
Hola.
Hope, dear, I hope this isn't another one of your little jokes.
Not at all. He loved the William Burroughs complete works I got him last year.
Hope your father is very happy with me.
Are you sure? It's a new age. He can let his freak flag fly.
Oh, honey, he knows that just fine.
You know that straight men don't organize their underwear by color, right?
Your father is very sensitive to color combinations that might clash, even behind closed doors.
It is upsetting. Like attracts like, as they say.
That's great, dear.
TTYL, love beard.
Goodbye, Hope.
Sayonara, sister wife. Some people just don't get it.
You're telling me, sister.
One of my favorite lines to this day. Freak flag fly. I love that. I want to be in the right atmosphere to tell somebody it's time to let your freak flag fly, sister.
Oh my gosh, when I looked back at that and your face and oh my God, it makes me laugh every single time.
The only thing, okay, first of all, I want to apologize. I forgot to rewind the video when it started. But second, I just realized, and I didn't realize it till I saw it again, that when we recorded that on Zoom, I had that face clear thing button that you pick, and my face looks like I have a ton of makeup on. And I was like, what are they going to think with this dude? But that was so much fun to do. And okay, for those of you that don't know, that have been following the series, we filmed that in class.
Yeah, we did. And in fact, you were our first guest star. So we had only written scenes for each other. And it was the very first time where she and I had been talking. We're like, we really want to bring in other people. And we were like, we want to use Daniel first. So I wrote this crazy scene and I threw you in. And I'm like, you're going to understand everything that Estrella and I have been talking about that you weren't involved in. Here you go. And you were so game and hysterical. Like your subtle little gestures are spot on. They crack me up when I watch this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I haven't been the first for anything in forever. But I want to touch a little bit now that we're going into the second half hour. For everybody who's watching, this is Put Together Conversations. We're talking with co-owners and creators of Starflower Entertainment, Estrella and Rhianna, and we're talking about finding your soul artistic person. You both really have a very calm yet powerful energy. Like you can tell that you know where you're coming from, you know where you're going. Where does that grounded energy come from? Where does your security come from?
I think for me, and I think Rhianna might feel the same way, is that I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but I'm also, I've been doing this for a really,
this is summer chicken,
right? Yeah, maybe a fall chicken. I don't know. Summer births, yeah. I think it comes from a place of like, okay, been there, done that. I've been that nervous actor. I've been that like, oh my gosh, am I like the whole questioning of yourself, right? Am I talented? Is this the right business for me? I think you just get to a point where there are many times where I felt like maybe I need to be doing something else. But then there was a sign from the universe that was like, nope, you're in the right place. You just have to keep going. And so I think it's just a resolve that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me figure out how to do it well and to the best of my ability. And I trained for a really long time with an amazing coach, Arthur Mendoza at Actors Circle Theater, who was just absolutely, he was a protege of Stella Adler. Talk about getting your ego out of the way. The first few years of studying with him was getting my ego out of the way. And because I don't think that you can truly create, truly be open, and truly be giving if you are with ego. I think it's very detrimental to you as an artist. So for me, it was like, okay, well, I've lived a long time getting my ego out of the way. I've been through, lots of failures, lots of successes. And it's just timing. A lot of it is timing, but also being prepared. So I think when I met Rhianna, it was timing. We were both prepared because we'd both been doing all of this work on ourselves for so many years that we recognized that in each other. I liked that she was secure. I liked that she was funny. I liked that she was, human and real. And she was like, we could laugh about stuff and make fun of ourselves. Like there was nothing, she just didn't have that ego. And so I think that's what allowed us to connect.
And for you, Rhianna, where does your security and power come from?
I really think it's part of my spiritual practice. I really connected with yoga and meditation in a new way about 5 or 6 years ago. I was a yoga teacher. I have a morning practice that grounds me every day, in my creativity. Yes, brunettes are also amazing. And I think it really allowed me to understand that I am the channel, I am the voice of something that's bigger than me. And so while it does feel good to get parts that I crave, that isn't actually what my purpose on this earth is. And so when I do meet an opportunity to shine in a way that feels aligned, when I meet someone who arrives showing up to be of service to story and other people and creativity in the way that Estrella does, like I'm going to lean into that because that truly is why I think that we're here. And I think that's our gift to the planet. And so by knowing it's bigger than me, I think it allows me to calm down a little bit. Because when I was a little younger, there was a whole lot of ego happening, none of which served me. And now there's such a place of joy and pleasure that comes in our partnership that it's like, well, I'm never going back. So
Yeah. I think that's the translation for me is for instance, in auditions, you go audition, you walk out, and you leave it there. Because once you walk out of that room, there's nothing else you can do to change it. And I try to be very aware of the fact that when you get into a situation, how am I prepared to get into the situation? Do what you need to do and walk away from it. And I think that's it. We get lost so much as humans, and then you add the actor factor to it, and you can easily get lost in the shuffle and the push and the competition and the constantly looking at somebody else's grass to see if it's greener. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think also a lot of actors, especially, over-identify with being actors rather than being one part of their day, one part of themselves. So that means every opportunity is the be-all, end-all to establish their value. And in this widening out of self that has happened for me, and I think Estrella in the past year, it's like we're producers, we're writers, we're directors, we're developers of content, we're editors on some days because we don't pay people to do that. And in that way, it's just one aspect of myself. So I don't have to cling to it as hard as well.
Yeah. How does that resonate with you, Estrella?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. There were so many auditions that I went to when I was younger, and I had no business going to some of those auditions. Like they were so bad, and I would just leave going, I really messed that one up. And so I think it's just like Rhianna's saying, I used to be so intense, like, oh my God, this audition, it has to be perfect. And it's like, no, like when I stopped having fun was when I started having worse auditions. It was like, because then I treated it like a job. And I think, in a bad way. I mean, you do have to be professional and all of that, but I was putting way too much pressure on it and on myself, and I wasn't having fun. And so I took a few years off, especially like right after I had my two kids, and I wasn't feeling creative. I wasn't feeling motivated. So I needed to step back, and I needed to reevaluate. And I had just done a ton of theater, and then I was like, okay, I got to step back. I have to step back, and I have to focus on other things and go internal and like take care of where I was not in a good place, like just emotionally, mentally, and creatively. So taking a step back, made me really miss it and made me crave it again. And then, so the ball was just starting to roll again. I was studying with John, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I got this cinematic thing. Like, I'm gonna do what John Swanbeck's saying, and I feel more powerful. And you started to like make sense of it. Like you started to make sense of the camera and you start to go, oh, right, okay. So if I don't move too much, if I focus, the eyes, the voice, like what John teaches us, it'll come across better. So the ball's rolling, and then the pandemic shuts everything down. So that was really frustrating because I always felt like every time things are going well, something happens. So I had to go, okay, I need to change that. I need to take control. If something is coming in and it's preventing me from doing something, I need to go around it instead of just stopping and waiting. Like I need to figure out how to go around this obstacle. So that's when Rhianna and I were like, hey, let's create. Like, who cares? Like, let's just put it out there. And if people love it, they love it. If they don't, they don't. But we're having fun and we're laughing at each other. So.
And I think because we released interest in that outcome, thinking that auditions and, credit and all of those kind of things get you focused on awards, we could receive the feedback that we got in class, which was, this scene is great. You guys are on to something. Keep going. And so that allowed us to be in discovery at every stage rather than it needing to like kill the room. The first time we ever wrote a scene, which is, of course, the death of joy.
But I think it's you touched on something that I believed a long time ago, and some people try to discourage you, which is you're not just one thing. We don't come to this planet. We're not given birth to be one thing in this world, and sometimes you're so locked into, I've got to be an actor. I've got to be an actor. I moved to California to be an actor. I've got to be the best actor. And then it's not happening. And then somebody's like, hey, there's an opportunity to do this. No, I've got to be an actor. I've got to be an actor. and then, as Estrella was saying, that wall pops up in front of you. You're like, oh, now how do I break it down? And then you spend so much time. And then somebody says, well, if you go this way, there's a door, but you have to do something different. No, I'm an actor. And then all of a sudden, your whole time is spent trying to break down this wall that we self-created and doesn't really exist. Does that make sense? Because I agree with you. I'm a actor, stand-up comic, host, advocate, spiritual coach, Reiki master, and some people are like, "You do too much." I'm like, "You do too little."
Yeah.
How's that for?
Myself.
Yeah. How's that for a spin on reality? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a very modern concept that we need to, first of all, define ourselves by our job. We are creative beings, which is AKA a human being. So to define ourselves by a job title is very modern, reductive thinking. Then secondly, to describe ourselves by how we express is an outcropping of when business meant the entertainment field, right? Like all of a sudden you had to commodify yourself in order to be in the market. But did Disney commodify themselves? No, they are out there. I'm watching Mandalorian. My friends are going to Disneyland next week. They own ABC. Like they're doing okay because they got a lot of fingers and a lot of pots. Yeah. I was listening to a fabulous interview with Bernie Sue, who's an Emmy Award-winning producer and showrunner this week. And he said he always leans into the problem because the solution is what makes him the star that he is. And so during the writer's strike, he went on to make a YouTube show that won an Emmy. In this last quarantine period, he's doing TikTok debuts, duets that are now being broadcast all over the world. And I think that's exactly the difference of a creative who is on the forefront of what people are looking for, as opposed to someone who's in the back being like, pick me, pick me.
And I think for years I was going, pick me, pick me. And I realized nobody is going to hand me anything. I've been waiting way too long. Like it's time to I
haven't rung my door yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you get a few jobs and then you're like, oh, great. I'm booking some jobs. And then it stops and it's not, I just feel like there's just not life's too short. And if we're not going to just go after our dream, it's just too long. It's too long for you to wait for somebody to hand you something. I wish my only regret is that I wish I had started doing this earlier, like just creating my own things earlier. But at the same time, I don't think I was ready. And I also don't think I had met the correct person that I was supposed to be artistic with and build something with. I think that's the other thing too, is that I really do believe that everything happens for a reason. And all of the things that I went through in my past are what brought me to today.
Yeah, there's definitely I say this to my clients, from the time you're born to the time you die, the universe, God, life, they have this road laid out for you. It's just a matter of whether we stick to it or we jump to the dirt road and make it difficult on ourselves. but sometimes we need a little bit of difficulty to realize, hey, if I listen to the universe, it's going to guide me in the right direction. The universe, let me tell you folks, the universe does not want the worst for you. It wants the best for you. But we're humans and we want to be better. But I'm with you. I think that if my agent is watching this, I still want to book that big role. I guarantee you. But while the big role comes around for all of us, I need to create, and it's a muscle. You're right, it's a muscle. It's like when I do card readings, I can't wait for clients to come to me. I started doing my TikTok morning show because that's keeping my muscle exercise and keep going. And then when somebody calls and says, "Can you do this?" You're like, "Yeah, I got this." Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, Abraham Hicks, who Estrella and I both really love, calls it getting ready to get ready. Like if you're ready, you never have to get ready. And that comes from practice, inspiration, commitment, discipline, all these amazing things. And so just trusting that the real work is keeping the craft strong, not trying to off-road up the mountain against the bush, trust.
I do remember. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and that's kind of the thing with why I've been in class. Like I stay in class for as long as I do is because it's a muscle, right? So I'm practicing being on camera because it is an art. It's an art to figure out how to move on camera, how to be cinematic, how to be interesting. The same thing with writing. That's why Rhianna and I are like forcing each other to write a scene a week. We're just throwing back and forth to each other because if we're writing, we're practicing that writing muscle. I just feel like, just like you want to be in shape, you got to go to the gym and do it every day. Like that's just how it is.
Accountability, and you've got to be accountable. And so for those folks out there, this is my little note: find somebody that will bust your butt and they will come after you and go, "Have you done this yet?" But so many times we want to pick those partners, and then we find them, and then they're like, "Have you done it?" And we're like, "You know what? I don't think this is going to work."
Yeah.
And you're like,
so last week.
Seriously? So before we continue, we're coming to the last 15 minutes of the show. I want to thank all of you for watching. This is Put It Together Conversations. My guests today are Estrella Tamez and Rhianna Basore from Start Flower Entertainment, and we're talking about finding your soul partners, keeping your creative muscles moving, and just being the best person you can. So, ladies, this is about the time of the show where we have our words of wisdom. So we like to share some words of wisdom with our audience. So let's start with Rhianna. Rhianna, what words of wisdom would you like to share with the audience?
I would just say trust your gut. I think so often we're taught to over intellectualize everything. There's a lot of shoulds. There's a lot of paths we've seen other people carve out, but really we know what's best for ourselves. And when we follow that path, that's when the good stuff happens. That's uniquely ours. So just save yourself a lot of guff and trust yourself.
Awesome. Estrella?
Yes, I'm a huge fan of trusting your instincts and your gut. My words of wisdom, I think, go hand in hand with that, which is just be open to change, be open to flexibility. Because if anything, this last year has taught us it's to be open and to be fluid and to just go with the flow.
That's beautiful. And trusting your gut, which is the solar plex chakra. It's a little bit of education, folks. The solar plex chakra is really about it's commitment, it's instinct, it's gut feelings. It's making a commitment to trust yourself. Is you telling your spirit, I trust that you are guiding me in the best direction, so I'm going to go that way. So when you're not committed to yourself, you start doubting yourself, and that's when the insecurities come, and that's when mistrust comes along, and that's when you can't collaborate with people, and that's when you are, as actors sometimes do, the night before the audition, you're trying to cram in everything that you need to know. So not that I'm supposed to give my words of wisdom, this is about my guests, but here's my words of wisdom, folks. If you continuously work whatever muscle, whatever you want to do in life, if you commit it to yourself and you work that muscle, and like I says, you'll be ready when you're supposed to be ready. There's no this cramming before. And I should have learned that when I was in college. That would have saved me a lot of time, but that's another story for another show.
I don't think we're ready, because I think part of it is also knowing who you are. And that is a hard won battle, my friends. You got to do a lot of feeling to be real clear about who you are.
Yeah. Side note, I got a message yesterday or the night before from somebody who used to be a friend of mine, and kind of showing off what she's doing now. And for a moment, she caught me off guard, and I kept reading the message, and I was like, "Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, why am I not doing that? Why am I not doing what she's doing?" And then Christian finally had to tell me, he's like, "Because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing." And I was like, "Well, isn't that just a little nugget right there?" Like, what's next for Starflower Entertainment?
Rhianna.
We are working on packaging in the Zoom room for production. So we are actively taking meetings and pitching it with producers and managers and that kind of thing, because we would really love to expand it into a full 30-minute single cam comedy.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we've been spending a lot of time doing that. That's where most of our energy has gone into. So we actually have all 5 seasons planned out. We have the pilot episode written out. Yeah, we have our pitch documents all typed out and all pretty and everything. And we also we have written a feature film together, which we are still working on. We're in the editing phase of that. We have 4 other?
Oh, we have 5 or 6
projects.
more projects that we are in early stage of development. So Starflower's got a lot of stuff in the hopper.
That is so amazing. I mean, there's a little bit of proudness in knowing that I know you, and that I was there watching when you first started in the Zoom room. Like, to be in the audience and watch that and go, "This is pretty freaking hilarious." Like, what are they?
Thank you.
Like, okay, and I'll be honest with the folks. I had no shame in throwing my name in there. Go, "I want to play with you guys." And every time and I have no shame. Every time there was an opportunity to message them, I'm like, "And I want to play with y'all." Just because I haven't said it like 20 times, I want to play with y'all. So
and just so people know, like, there was that part of us that I think Rhianna and I were like, should we do this? Do people want to see this? And then we were just like, I think at the final decision was just like, why not? And if we fail, we fail. And I think that the old me, the young me was always like, oh my gosh, I can't do that, because what if I fail? Like, I'm not going to be good at that. But you know what? It doesn't matter. And there are going to be people who love it. There are going to be people who don't like it. There are going to be people who support it, who don't support it. So it doesn't matter. It's like, do what makes you happy. Do what makes you laugh. Do what makes you feel good. And do it with somebody that you enjoy spending time with. We absolutely love spending time with each other. And we've now met, Rhianna, twice in person. We had never met in person up until
crazy. That's
May.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, it's so cool because energetically it's just an awesome thing. But silver linings of the pandemic, it's like in the midst of everything, you're like, we can do this. We can do this. And you did. And you are.
And not to take away from anyone's struggle, like the pandemic has been a horrible year for a lot of people. And believe me, like my own family, we've had our ups and downs. It's been an absolute roller coaster, but the absolute silver lining was my friend. Yeah. So yes.
So I will again fall into my shame and say, if you need a little Mexican in there somewhere, hello, my agent, I will let you know where to call and stuff.
You're always on our short list.
No problem. I just want to make sure. I just have to make sure. My insecurities as an actor are shining right now. It's like I have to make sure. But one thing that's been on my mind since I knew you were going to come on the show. One thing that's been on my mind that I would love for you to address before we go is a message to younger girls out there, to younger ladies. That don't always get a chance to put their voice out. And I know we live in such a great time, 2021. There's diversity. There's more voices out there. Every generation, every new generation has their space. But there is still that one girl out in rural somewhere, America, that is like, I could never do this. I can never do what they're doing. What would you tell her?
We both lived in New Mexico. Both Rhianna and I lived in New Mexico at different times. I was born in LA, but I grew up in New Mexico, in a really small town at the time I moved to it. Las Cruces, New Mexico was a very small town. And I didn't know anyone in the entertainment industry. I came back to LA as an adult, and Hope says that's me. I came back as an adult to pursue a singing career, and then I accidentally fell into a short film, and then it just like, that's where I got the acting bug. So I got into it late. I didn't go to film school. I didn't go to acting school I went to the university for something else that I'm not even using anymore. So it doesn't matter if there's something that you want to do. And people change careers their entire lives. Like, it doesn't matter if you finally realize, like, this is what I want to do, or I want to write, or I want to direct, or I want to blah, blah, blah. Right now is the best time because you can do almost everything online right now. So I say go for it. Life's too short.
I think I would definitely yes and that to say there's also no gatekeepers. For a long time, there was a very hegemonic, monolithic power structure at the highest levels of entertainment and creativity in our culture. And those have broken apart. Thank you, Internet. And as a result, there is room for everybody. There are entire casting platforms for differently abled actors, for LGBTQ plus actors. It is simply a matter of finding people who want the stories you want to tell and want to collaborate with you on them. And the internet makes that a wide open connection source. So the more you can own your own voice and your own power and put that out there, that's how you're going to attract the people that want you to amplify that story that means so much to you.
Yeah, because I discovered the internet in 2008, and I was 37 years old then. And it gave me a voice. I found my voice. And then as the years have progressed and I started growing, I was like, I don't have to identify as anything, and I can identify it as everything I want. The internet is your camera. So for all you little Latino, LGBTQ plus folks out there in the middle of nowhere that you're like, nobody's going to watch me. Look, I started with the 1 minute video on YouTube that I was uploading from my camera that I was recording. And I thought nobody's going to watch this ever. And you know what? Some of them, they didn't. But now I have an audience and I have guests and I have a show and I own my own production company. And I was a little Latino boy that just had no clue what he wanted to do in life. So you can, I know it sounds over said, but you can do it. Don't let anybody stop you. You can do it. You got this.
And your tribe will find you, right? Like, your people will find you. You will build your platform, maybe person by person, but they will be grateful that you've put it out there when they find you. They're waiting to discover you.
And my only suggestion is come from the heart.
Yeah.
Make sure it's quality.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the quantity. Worry about the quality. And people will talk about you. People will start sharing. Let me tell you, people talked about me bad for a long time. I'm at least glad they're sharing the good stuff now. I had to erase my number from so many restroom walls. It was tiring. But that's another story. That's another story. Before we go, anything else you want to say before we go? I got your website to your, here we go. Anything else we missed? Anything else we want to talk about?
Goodness, I feel like we talked about a lot. We would just love to invite everyone to come check out the first season of Zoom Room. We're working on the second, as well as working on pitching. So keep your eyes on the channel. New episodes dropping soon.
That's right. And thank you so much for having us. It's been an absolute blast to be here. I hope if anything, we've inspired people, and that's it. We're just happy to be here.
Well, I'm so proud to be, I say this humbly, your friend, and to have seen you grow into Starflower Entertainment. It's you walk into a classroom and yes, it was like, I wonder who's going to be in my class. Oh my God, who are these girls? They just think they're so funny and so cute, whatever. And then you realize, I'm like, oh my God, they're really talented. Like, I want to work with them. And then you start seeing. Okay, I know it's going to sound like I'm brown nosing because I want to work with them more. But no. Let me assure you, it's not. The first time you did an In the Zoom Room script in class. And the whole classroom was just genuinely bursting. And we were like, that is so good. And then you come up next week, you're like, with the new one, and they're like, did y'all write this? And everybody's like, and what it does, I always say that we're in competition with everybody, even when we don't want to, because you see something, you're like, how can I do that for me? And up my game, not your game, up my game. How can I up my game? And y'all did that for me, because I was like, I need to pick things that are going to make me look better for me. And you guys just kept bringing it, and you keep bringing it. And for females in entertainment, you're something to look at. And folks, mark my words, this isn't your first interview, though. Have you been interviewed?
I've done other interviews, but this is our first together, Daniel.
Yeah. So, folks, you saw them here first. Just saying.
That's right. That's right. And my
OG, my friend, OG Daniel.
OG Daniel. And so I think the whole moral of our story today is you have to do what scares you, because we were terrified and we did it anyway. And we were like, who cares if we fail? I'm tired of being scared to do anything. Like, don't be afraid. Just go after that. Even if it scares you to death, do it. You will thank yourself.
I'm going to bring John Swanbeck into this conversation, because it also shows as a coach, as a leader, he set the tone for a room where you could trust your instincts, where you could go where you wanted to go. And we're all, I need to come back to class. I've just been so busy. And we're going to talk about why I've been so busy in a second. But he set the tone for, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Which I believe, and I might be putting words in your mouth, but it gave you the permission and the allowance to create something and go, we're going to do it here because we know that the fellow students here will accept it or not, but they'll hold us in that space. And that's what we did. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
absolutely.
He allowed us to play. Yeah.
He also, his voice helped shape everything that we wrote and created, because it was through working in John's class and the questions he would ask and the directions he would lead our performance that we further developed the characters, the style, and the voice. So Estrella and I fully credit him. He's in the special thanks of our series every week, because without John, there'd be no Zoom room, both because we wouldn't know each other, but also because he was sort of the guiding hand behind the scenes of our creativity. He built the space and he kept us safe while also encouraging us to own our own voice.
Yeah, he pushed us really to just discover, which I'm so grateful for.
And I want to say, Stephen Prevost, who was our guest in a couple of episodes, if you guys want to learn more about coffee, go look for his interviews in the series, and Pretty Good Conversation series. I think y'all are amazing. I am so proud of y'all. I think just for female empowerment, you're such a positive example for those of us in the business who sometimes sit on our butts and go, I'm waiting for my opportunity. And you're like, well, make it. It's like having a craving in the middle of the night for apple pie and nobody delivers. Well, make your own pie.
And it's empowering. It is so empowering to make your own projects and to, even if they fail, or even if you have to start from scratch again and redo it, or, it's just empowering, and it makes you feel so much better.
And fun. It's freaking a blast.
Fun. Absolute blast.
So before the ladies go, I want to remind all of y'all, this is our lineup for the week. Check us out here at Little Mexican Productions. On Wednesday nights, we have the Christian and Daniel show. On Fridays is the Card Devo. And on Saturdays, we have 2 shows of Put It Together Conversations at 12 and 5. All of these times are Pacific Standard Time. Now, every once in a while, we sneak in an extra special Put It Together Conversations. So make sure that you follow us, hit those announcement buttons. If you're on YouTube, will you do us a favor, scroll down, subscribe to the channel, and hit that little bell so you get notified every time there's a new show. We've got different guests, different information. Go check it out. Also, if you are not buying my Grumpy Bunny and the Colors Game book, what's wrong with you? Go check it out. It's at all the major bookstores, Bookshop, Target, Bunny 17 Media, Amazon Books and Barnes and Nobles. Grumpy Bunny and the Colors Game is a guided meditation that you can read to your children. So go check it out. One of the coolest things that my illustrators, Jennifer Gatch and Vivian Gatch, are mother and daughter. Vivian is 11 years old, and she illustrated my book. Talk about girl power. They were amazing. So it's already out for sale, so you can find it at any of the major pages, and it's up for delivery. So for now, ladies, thank you so much for being on the show. Please come back.
We would
I'd
be
love
thrilled to come back.
Absolutely.
Plus, I know that Rhianna, you work with a special organization, and I want to hear more about that. So we're going to have you back on the show to talk about that stuff and see how we can help out. For now, I want to thank all of you watching. Remember, you are watching us on Facebook, 4 different channels on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Be part of the conversation. Join us every week for more. For now, I want to thank the ladies for joining us, and I want to thank you for being here. This is Daniel J. Garza saying, hey, put it together, and we'll see you next time.